You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 10th of November 2016. For copyright reasons, this audio has been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom with me, Tom Cairns, Jack Murphy, Callum Hartley and Kathy Daniels. Good evening and welcome to Formula Tom on Brayford Radio. Joining me tonight is Jack Murphy, Kathy Daniels and Callum Hartley for our Brazilian Grand Prix preview show that is taking place tonight for this weekend's race in Sao Paulo, as well as our talks about Lance Stroll moving to Williams for next year and our power unit elements talk, which we'll be talking about later on tonight. You guys can be involved in the show via Twitter, send in your tweets at Brayford Radio. Alternatively, you can send in your posts and messages to the Facebook page of Formula Tom and we'll share your thoughts over the next hour. So guys, the penultimate round of the season in Brazil, it's that time of year where it could be a new world champion in waiting. Jack?
Definitely. I think that Rosberg, if he plays his cards right, he can do it this weekend.
Callum?
Yeah, well, all the pressure's on Rosberg, obviously. Hamilton's got nothing to lose. He's triple world champion, and I think if he wins this one, it's a bonus for him. So he just has to go out there, try and get first and take his last race. But Rosberg's never had this pressure before, so it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it.
And Kathy, off you?
Yeah, if Rosberg keeps his cool, and I think if he nails the start, then I think he's got it in the bag.
Okay. And because Brazil, the last time Brazil decided the World Championship was in 2012 between Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. Vettel came out on top on that one. Do you feel that Brazil could throw up another surprise? Because looking at the forecast for this weekend, it's predicted to be raining, so that could really add in a mix and that could play a huge part in deciding the World Championship as well.
Yeah, well, we've always looked over the years that Brazil has always been a very controversial race, not as in things have happened, just for the racing. The race itself has been brilliant, and we're hoping for something, maybe a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Rosberg, he has currently a 19-point lead, so if he was to win this weekend, the maximum Hamilton can get is second, which means, because it's a 7-point difference, it would be 26 points, and obviously that's exceeding the maximum limit in terms of what Hamilton can achieve in Abu Dhabi. So Hamilton has to win this one to keep the championship alive. Callum?
Yeah, as long as Rosberg doesn't crash out or anything like that. Yeah, he's got experience in Brazil. I don't think this is one of his best tracks.
He's never won there, actually.
No, he hasn't won there before. So he needs to kind of get a result at the bag somewhere. Yeah, I just hope it goes to the last race. Like a good season. It's been a great season this year at the top of the league. I wish there was more teams taking part, like Ferrari and Red Bull, but that's how it is. Yeah,
and Kathy, what does Hamilton need to do to overhaul Rosberg this weekend? Because if it's a wet race in Brazil, that could really play into his hands.
Yeah, if it's a wet race, then it will definitely, I think it will come down to the pit stops and when he decides to put on wet tyres. And we've seen in the past he's made some pretty good, him and the team, they've made some pretty good decisions with that. So a wet race, I think, will be in Hamilton's favour. But I think he just needs to keep his cool and not let it get to him.
And looking at the championship as well, whilst Hamilton and Rosberg, has been the major talking point, it's also the final home race for Felipe Massa as well. It's been a long career, hasn't it, for Massa, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a long, great career, especially while he was at Ferrari. Amazing driver, one of most consistent drivers as well. So it would be sad to lose him.
Mm-hmm. Because in last year's race, Felipe Massa was disqualified for a tyre blanket warming infringement. He finished 8th on the circuit, but was excluded from the results because of that rule break. He's going to have a warm reception going into the weekend, isn't he, Kathy? Because, he's had good memories and he's had bad memories. He's won there twice, one of which, he just missed out on the World Championship in 2008 to Lewis Hamilton. He wants to go out and get a good result, doesn't he?
Yeah, it would be really nice for him if his last home race, if he can do really well, and the crowd will love him. So yeah, hopefully it should be a good one for him.
And he's not the only Brazilian driver taking part in that. Felipe Nasser will be racing for the second time in his home race in Brazil. He feels that this is Sauber's best chance of getting a championship point. And the thing is, if they finish in the points, they go ahead of Manor in the Constructors, and the difference between finishing 10th and 11th in the Constructors at the end of the season is £35 million for a small team as well. That's going to be huge for...
Yeah, well, obviously the small teams need this funding to keep the team going, to obviously attract better drivers as well to the team. So if they can get this point, yeah, the car is looking a bit better than it was earlier in the year, and there is outside possibility they could get it, as long as with it being wet track, that could work in their favour.
Yeah. Because Ericsson missed out on a points finish in 11th for Sauber. I mean, had maybe the likes of maybe Vettel, Verstappen and Ricciardo getting together, that could have very much given Ericsson that crucial point to not only give him his first championship points since last year, but also, as I said before, getting Sauber ahead of Manor in the Constructors. Quickly looking at the tyre allocations this weekend, the 3 compounds for Brazil at Interlagos is the orange marked hard tyre, the white marked medium and the yellow marked soft. There's not really that much difference between what each driver has gone for, but the most aggressive tyre allocation on there has to be the Williams drivers of Massa and Bottas. They're both going for 9 sets of the softs. The least aggressive approach has to be Sebastian Vettel and the two Saubers and Grosjean, as well as the 2 Red Bulls actually, because they've gone for 1 hard. Although Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Perez and Gutierrez are the only drivers who have gone for more than 1 hard. They've gone for 2 hard tyres. You would think that they're going to go for, if it's a dry race on Sunday, they're going to go for a race strategy. Or, if it's going to be wet, the best tyre I think that's going to be on straight after the intermediates or the wets is going to be that hard tyre, would you say, Jack?
Definitely, yeah. That hard tyre, I don't know if it's planning ahead, but they're definitely clearly think that it could definitely benefit them. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, because the Mercedes have gone for the same as each other really. They've gone for 8 softs, 4 mediums and 1 hard for Hamilton and Rosberg. I mean, they'll save that hard side for the race. There's no hiding from that. But I don't know, because with it being a wet race this weekend, if it does get wet, they've only got 1 hard, and they might want another one. But for Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Perez and Gutierrez, they've got that extra hard tyre if they need it, because if they end up on the dry track, it's going to get rid of the grip on that tyre so quickly on the soft if they go for the soft straight away. But theory doesn't always prove to be right on the circuit. Sometimes teams go for a risky one to overhaul others or deceive other drivers in terms of getting ahead of them. Looking at the championship standings, Nico Rosberg, as we've already mentioned, has a 19-point lead over Lewis Hamilton with 2 races left. So if he wins the race in Brazil, he has won this year's world title, his first world championship. The first German since Sebastian Vettel, and the third German in Formula 1 history to claim the Formula 1's biggest prize. Daniel Ricciardo has confirmed his 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. He's on 242. Vettel is on 187 in 4th, then it's Raikkonen in 5th, 178, and Verstappen completing the Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari top 6 with 177 points. So there's still a battle for 4th place up for grabs. Perez and Bottas tie on 85 points apiece, and it's Hülkenberg in 9th with 60, Alonso in 10th with 52, Massa in 11th with 51, and Sainz in 12th with 38. What are we thinking about the situation for not just for the Drivers' Championship, but for the 4th place? Because 4th is going to be Max Verstappen's biggest target, I think, but he needs a good result, really, in comparison to the Ferraris.
Considering that Max didn't start out at Red Bull, he's done extremely well to be even in that hunt. So he's done really well this season, and he might even get it.
Yeah. Callum, do you think Verstappen could get 4th in the Drivers?
I think he can. I think he's more consistent than Raikkonen at this point in time. I think the car's probably a bit quicker than the Ferrari as well. Yeah. And the only reason he's behind Raikkonen is because he was in the Toro Rosso at the start of the season, I think.
Yeah, because he scored 13 points with the Toro Rosso team in the first 4 races before being promoted to the Red Bull seat. Kathy, can Max Verstappen get 4th in the Drivers?
I think he can, because he's doing a lot better than Raikkonen at the minute, so I think he can definitely overtake him. And it does seem like Red Bull are doing a lot better than Ferrari, so I think he will be able to overtake Vettel too.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because Red Bull very much are going to get second anyway, providing, I mean, they will score points in Brazil, there's no doubt about it, so which will mathematically confirm their second place in the Drivers' Championship, Constructors' Championship, I should say, before going into Abu Dhabi. So I'm pretty sure Max Verstappen himself will go for that fourth spot in the Drivers. Just go further down in the drivers, we've got Grosjean in 13th with 29, that's Kvyat in 14th with 25, Button in 20 with 21, it's Magnussen for Renault with 7, with Palmer on 1, with Verline on 1 and Van Dorn on 1. Only Gutierrez, Ericsson, Nasser, Harriento and Ocon have still yet to score. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes, long time ago, have already won the Constructors. They're on 679 points, with Red Bull in second with 427. Then it's Ferrari third with 365. Force India holding that crucial fourth spot ahead of Williams. They're 145 to Williams 136. Then it's McLaren a long way back in sixth with 74. Comprehensively ahead of Toro Rosso with 55. Haas in 8th with 29. Renault with 8. In 9th, with 8, Manor in 10th with 1, and Sauber the only team still yet to score. So, but if they can get a point in Brazil, they'll go ahead of Manor, pretty sure. Looking at constructors, I would say the biggest fights at the moment it's between Force India and Williams for 4th, and Manor and Sauber for 10th, Kellen, because this is crucial now. I mean, it may not be as big as what challenging with the constructors, but it's still big money difference.
Yeah. They need the small teams need more money nowadays than they actually get in, so this will obviously help them out. But having said that, 35 million sounds a lot, but in F1 terms it's probably not a lot of money compared to what the bigger teams are getting, because the cars cost so much to make and stuff.
Well, the likes of Sauber, next year they're using Ferrari engines, so they're not going to be spending money on the engines anyway, but if they can get that 10th spot, that's a real bonus for them to perhaps work on the aerodynamics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need to get that 10th. I think they've been better than Russia, but Sauber needs to push on and get that 10th because I think they do deserve it. To be fair.
But who needs it more, Sauber or Manor?
I think Sauber have got more potential, so I think they need it more than Manor do. I'd say.
Manor will be sticking to the Mercedes engines for next season.
Yeah.
So if they want to bring engine upgrades, I mean, providing they keep hold of Verline, which I think they do need to keep hold of him because I think he's been Manor's best driver since the team first came into the sport. Kathy, what's your take on the battles then between Force India and Williams?
Well, Williams definitely do have the potential to overtake Force India. It's very tight between them, and I'm not sure if they will though. I don't think performances Williams have been giving this year, I don't think they'll be able to overtake Force India in the Constructors. Mm-hmm. So. And
Jack, your say on this in the Constructors' Championship between the fight between Williams and Force India and Sauber and Manor?
Yeah, well, I agree with Kathy on the Force India Williams. I see Force India coming out on top unless something happens. So because Hulkenberg and Perez have been very consistent this season, and they definitely deserve one over the Williams this season.
And what about Sauber and Manor?
Sauber and Manor, who do I think would gain from it more? I really think Manor would. I actually believe that they are showing more potential at the minute than Sauber, and with that extra money they could bring to the car, it would be a great little boost for them.
So who needs it more, Sauber or Manor?
Manor.
Manor?
Yep.
For the engine upgrades?
Yes.
Okay. For you guys to have your say on Brazil coming up this weekend, or any F1 topic you wish us to discuss, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio, or you can send us a post or a message via the Facebook page of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. Here's your first question of the evening, and it is, what has been Rubens Barrichello's best home Grand Prix result? What has been Rubens Barrichello's best home Grand Prix results? Okay, the answer will be given to you after Stereophonics Dakota. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Stereophonics Dakota. The question we asked about 5 minutes ago was, what has been Rubens Barrichello's best home Grand Prix result? Guys, did we have any answers for that?
I said third place when he was at Ferrari.
Okay. Kathy?
I said third as well.
Okay, Carl.
I'd say it's second.
Do you want to have a guess like which year he got?
He was at Ferrari 2001 to 2005, wasn't he? So 2004.
Kathy?
2005, I think.
We go for Braun 2009.
Okay. I can tell you one of you is 100% spot on. Jack, you're correct.
Yes.
Well done. Yeah, well done. The answer was third, which Barrichello managed to achieve in 2004. He only finished on the podium once in 19 attempts at Interlagos, Rubens Barrichello. So if he did say third, and achieved it in 2004, very, very well done. I want to go on to Formula One's newest driver for next year, who was confirmed as Felipe Massa's replacement at the Williams team for next year. That is Lance Stroll, who will become the first Canadian driver in 11 years to be on the Formula One grid. Jack, what was your say on the move?
It's something that we didn't predict, but it's a strong move. He's got a lot of talent, and he's gonna hopefully do very well.
Yeah, Kathy, what did you feel about Stroll's move? Because when we were sat down and we were making our prediction for the grid for next year, we said we made an agreement on Alex and Valtteri Bottas, but I said Stroll and Bottas.
Yeah.
But are you happy with the move? Do you think that's a risk?
I think it's a good move. I mean, we've seen from Max Verstappen that just because a driver's young doesn't mean they're not any good. So I think it is a really good move for him, and partner next to Bottas, who's obviously really experienced. I think he'll learn a lot in that team.
Cal, what was your say on the move?
I think he's gonna be a good driver. I think the Verstappen thing, because he's done so well, I think teams are now looking at younger drivers than they would have before, because everyone's like raised their eyebrows when Verstappen came in.
Yeah.
But now Stroll's come in, and no one's like, it's not as much. There's not as much media coverage on him because Verstappen's there and he's done it, so Stroll could follow in his footsteps, really.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of. I know it's a little bit irrelevant, but do you remember Alan Hansen saying you can't win anything with kids?
Yeah.
Well, we've got 3 teenagers in Formula 1 that can potentially become world champion. I mean, Max Verstappen, we think, is the most likely teenager to win the Drivers' Championship, mate, because if he wants to do it, he has to do it next year. Although he'll be 20 next year, so it won't be a teenager if he does become world champion, but he'll be the youngest to win it. So, but it's a bit of a long shot, really, for Stroll to perhaps challenge for the world championship. But where do you think his targets are aimed at for next year, Kathy?
I think probably coming sort of like mid-championship level, sort of where Williams are at the moment, because I don't think their car is good enough for him to be targeting higher up at the minute, but he might surprise us.
Jack, what would be your targets for Stroll?
I think they're going to be super ambitious, and they're going to try and want to catch the likes of Red Bull and Ferrari this next year. Whether they will, probably not. But I think they're setting the standards high and aiming high, which would hopefully be a good thing.
Callum, what's Stroll need to do to achieve his targets this first season?
Well, I find it quite impressive he got over 100 championship points. I mean, Williams, Bottas is on 85 at the minute, so probably get around about 100, I'd say.
Yeah.
But that'd be a good return on his first year. I don't see Williams challenging Mercedes. I think Red Bull will get stronger. I think Ferrari will get stronger. Maybe McLaren will get stronger as well.
Yeah. Don't discount McLaren.
Yeah, McLaren have been they haven't been anywhere in the last four years, and I can see them getting a better car than they have done. There's signs of improvement there. But I think probably about over 100 points, probably like 5th in the constructors from Williams would be quite good, I think.
Just give you a little insight about Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll started his winning ways in karting on a regional and national level in the Rotax Micro Max class in 2008. So they've been 10 years old at the time or something like that. At the age of 10, by picking up the championship wins in the Canadian National Karting Championship and in both the Montreal Cup and the Quebec Cup. The following year, he moved on up one category into Road Tax Mini-Max and nearly equalled the success of the previous year. This time, he won both the Montreal and Quebec Cups, but finished second to Samuel Fontaine in the National Championship. Lance Stroll moved to the competitive Road Tax Junior class in 2010 after just one Mini-Max season. He managed to score his second national karting win, but 2010 also saw successful competition outside the Canadian border with a win in the Florida Winter Tour. 2011 saw him move to Europe and KF3 karting with Lance Stroll with a hectic schedule including the World Cup, WSK Euro Series and WSK Final Cup, Bridgestone Cup and the German Championship. After a season without any big wins in Europe, Lance Stroll was back at it for 2012, winning the Andrea Margutti Trophy and the SQUSA Super Nationals. In 2013 was to be the last full season of karting, with Lance Stroll moving up to the KF class. Well, at the age of 10, we expect drivers, to be coming through the ranks at such an age. I mean, Max Verstappen was a prime example, because when his dad Jos finished his F1 career in 2003, Max Verstappen was only 6. So instead of Verstappen continuing in Formula 1 as a driver, he saved his money for Max to break through in Formula 1. And Lance Stroll's father, Lawrence, who is apparently a billionaire, he's the one that's brought him up and to get that race seat for Williams, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's quite... Stroll, I think, has got potential, and he's got all these championships. He's proven it for the last 8 to 10 years. I mean, he was first in his last season, got 331 points, 10 wins out of 17, which is quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he only didn't finish on the podium 3 times. He's got a very good pedigree, and he'll create a lot of interest, I think, next season. So I think he'll be good.
Yeah, because if we quickly go on to the Open Wheel Championship, which is where he very, very much established himself within the motorsport industry, he won the Italian Formula 4 Championship in 2014 with 331 points, with Prima winning 10 out of 17 races. In the following year, in 2015, he won the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand with accumulating 906 points, including 4 wins and 10 podiums. And this year, he won the championship by a record 189 points, or 183 points, something like that, ahead of his nearest rival, with 14 wins from 30 races, with 20 podium finishes and 14 pole positions. Amazing statistics at the age of 17 as well, Kathy.
Yeah, he's clearly a very, very talented driver, and his results just go to prove that. I mean, it's incredibly impressive, the amount of wins and the amount of podiums he's got. So I think he is a very good driver to come into Formula 1, definitely.
How has Lance Stroll established himself within the motorsport industry, Jack?
Well, he knows how to win. That's impressive at such a young age. To be winning these championships and to be getting his name out there and to be getting this Williams seat is a big potential there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely made a name for himself in the smaller ranks. So now he's just got to make his name known to us in the Formula 1 seat.
Yeah, I mean, for the first race of the season, what would you say his targets are for the first race of the season in Australia?
Points. If he can get points, first race, that's fine. Then build on that. If he's got to get used to the car, he's got to get confidence up. Because has he been a test driver before?
Not really.
No. So he hasn't really got experience in F1 car. So if he gets points, then that'll be impressive. Then work on that, and hopefully higher and higher will go.
Yeah, because by the time he gets to Australia, he'll be the second youngest driver in history to Max Verstappen to race in Formula 1. He'll be 18 when they arrive at Melbourne. Callum, I mean, what would you say his targets are for the first race in Australia? I mean, Jack says points. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say points. I expect Williams to finish in the top 10. I think I'm push maybe top 5. I think that'll be good. But most likely they'll get around about 6th or 7th, I'd say. But he's there to prove me wrong. So good luck to him.
Yeah, my mum's just coming in with saying, what do you think of Ross Brawn's new role within F1? Because the fact that because he used to have a strong relationship with Michael Schumacher over the years with Benetton, Ferrari, and Mercedes, but how would he fare as effectively the owner or part of the sort of ownership of Formula One?
Well, he's got experience which is always needed, and it could fare very well for the future of F1. Hopefully, it works out that way.
Kathy?
Yeah, he's very experienced, and he knows the sport well. I think it would, again, like Jack, I think it would be good for the future of F1.
And Callum, what can Ross Brawn achieve? Because, you know, he was very instrumental. I mean, not just instrumental with how he did with Schumacher, but how he brought Lewis Hamilton to the Mercedes team as an unexpected transfer.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of a stable pair of hands. I mean, like drivers want to go and go to his team and race for him because he's obviously a very talented like head of a team, and I think I think he's got good experience. He's not a loose cannon, and I think he'll be good in the top seat therefore. So.
Because Sean Tott, who is currently FIA president, he has an intimate relationship with Sean Tott as well. You know, from the days of Ferrari. So I'm pretty sure they can come to some form of agreements together to make perhaps F1 a better spot both on and off the circuit. We'll have to wait and see. For you guys to have your own thoughts on anything that's happened in the F1 news lately, so the Brazilian Grand Prix, the latest news like driver moves or Ross Brawn, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send in your posts or messages to Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. Here's your second question of the evening, and that question is the fact that Lawrence Stroll will be the first Canadian driver in over a decade to race in F1. When did Jacques Villeneuve take his last F1 victory? So, which race did Jacques Villeneuve take his last F1 victory? The answer we're given after Coldplay's Charlie Brown. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Charlie Brown by Coldplay. The question we asked before we left was Jacques Villeneuve took his last F1 victory at which race? Did you have any guesses?
I had a guess. I think that he won his last race quite a long time ago, especially as he stopped in 2006. It was a long time before that as well. So I'm going for late 90s, possibly 1998 in Monte Carlo.
Okay. Kathy?
I'm gonna say 2000 and the German Grand Prix.
2000 German Grand Prix?
Yeah.
Okay, and Callum?
I'd probably say 1997 Suzuka, Japan.
Okay. I can tell you the answer is it's the Luxembourg Grand Prix at the Nürburgring in 1997, which was the race before Suzuka, Jack.
Oh.
So we were very close. And in fact, what date were you born, Kathy, by the way?
26th of September 1997.
Because that race at Luxembourg took place 2 days after you were born. So
oh my god, that was long ago.
in 90, it's 97 in Luxembourg. So 2 days after you were born, Kathy, would you believe? So yeah, that was the answer for that. So if you said the 1997 Luxembourg Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, very well done. That was the last of Jacques Villeneuve's 11 race victories. So it is that time of the show, especially Jack, where we need to talk about. I didn't play it that time. I'll try again. I'll make sure it's heard actually. There we go. That's good. I've just forgot to put the fader up for the car, you see. But I mean, you did well last time out. You didn't win, obviously, but you got some good points to sort of stay in that fight for second.
Yeah, I'm wanting that second place, especially as I'm still in it, considering I missed a few. So I'm definitely wanting to try and sneak second place.
Yeah, because I'm currently in the box seat for second at the moment. I'm 11 points ahead of Team Jedi at the moment. I mean, but you're making up for lost time now because you've had 2 good results. I mean, how did you do in Suzuka, by the way? Did you get a good result in Suzuka?
I think most of my predictions were around about right.
Okay.
Um,
Because I got 4 predictions right in Mexico, and I nearly got a clean sweep because I put Verstappen as third for
Yeah.
Mexico. It was so annoying because I think I would have not only have got 10 points for that, but I think I would have got extra points for getting the top 3 because I had Hamilton and Rosberg as first and second. So had I got that, had Verstappen not made that mistake at turn 1, I would have won that round.
I think I got all 3 right actually, so I got bonus points. Because I put Ricardo as third. So
Yeah. Did you get what was the bonus points actually? Because it's 10 points for each driver plus
plus another 15 if
plus
I'm
15.
right.
So 10, 10, 10, 15. So that's 45.
45, yeah.
So had Verstappen not made that mistake, I would have got 25 points more than I did. I got 150. So had I got that, I would have got 175. I mean, Kellen, we know you're not in the Badger GP at the moment. I mean, because you've only come in like during the season. But if you were to sort of predict your results for Brazil this weekend, what would you say, considering the forecast? Weather forecast.
I'd probably go Hamilton first, Rosberg second, which will then take me to the last race, and third I'd go for probably Verstappen.
Verstappen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if Massa got third, just for his
Yeah, because Massa finished the last time Massa finished on the podium was 2 years ago, in fact, for Williams. So yeah, it'd be very nice for Massa to finish on the podium there. But I think that's going to be a tall order, to be honest. Kathy, what would you say your predictions would be for this weekend?
I think it'll be Hamilton first, then Rosberg.
Okay.
Third, I think either one of the Red Bulls or Vettel.
Okay.
Possibly.
For my predictions, because I'm involved in the league, I've gone for Hamilton to win, Ricciardo second, Rosberg third, because I've just got a feeling that Rosberg might either make a mistake late on in the race or Ricciardo outdoing him on the race strategies. So we'll have to wait and see about that one as well, because anything can happen in Brazil, especially in wet conditions. Because I remember in 2003, I think a long time ago, Jack, we were discussing about this race where Fisichella won. Well, Raikkonen won initially after the red flag stoppage. Like the race was finished from there due to Alonso's accident. Raikkonen was awarded the race win initially until the very next race when the FIA confirmed that it was Fisichella's win, didn't we? I mean, I don't suppose we'll see that again in Brazil, will we?
You never know. Would we see it in Brazil again? Probably not.
No.
I wouldn't say it would happen, but you never do know with these things. You can't be certain. Something can happen. Red flag has stopped races in the past, so it could happen, but probably not.
Yeah, I mean, if it does end up being a wet race in Brazil, we do not really want a repeat of what happened in Suzuka 2 years ago, do we?
No, definitely not.
No, because that's just going to spoil,
the championship.
Well, that's going to spoil things in the championship and in terms of the atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've got virtual safety car now these days, if the driver does go off, it's a no-brainer to deploy the virtual safety car, unlike what happened in Suzuka 2 years ago. Just quickly go through the standings for the Badger GP going into Brazil. Red Bull Dodge GP brings up the rear with 1,794, and in 6th is Honey Badger GP with 1,968. And it's Team Martin in 5th with 2,133, followed by Delta F1 in 4th with 2,150. Team Jedi in 3rd with 2,168, and it's Cairns Racing 2nd with 2,179, and it's Mark's Mercedes GP 215 points clear with 2,394, so he's very much won this year's championship effectively. Just go through the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. In case you didn't know what Interlagos meant in English, it actually means between the lakes, because like Inter, it's like sort of between, and Lagos is sort of an cognate to lakes.
Right.
There's 2 DRS zones. The first on the exit of turn 3 going into turn 4, and the second DRS zone takes place on the start-finish straight. So the detection points for each of the 2. The first one in between turns 1 and 2, and the second one just on the exit of where Juncao is between turns 13 and 14. Okay. There's a variety of ways of how Rosberg can win this World Championship in Brazil. We've already mentioned if he wins the race, he's world champion. If Hamilton was to win the race, then Rosberg can't be champion. If Rosberg was to finish second, it would need Hamilton to finish fourth, or fifth, whichever. If Rosberg was to finish third, then Hamilton would need to finish sixth or lower. If Rosberg was to finish fourth, Hamilton would need to finish eighth or lower. Fifth for Rosberg, it would need Hamilton to finish ninth or lower, or if he finishes sixth, and it would need Hamilton to finish 10th or lower. If Rosberg finishes 7th, it doesn't matter where Hamilton finishes, the title race would go down to Abu Dhabi. But I think the chances are, I think we expect them to finish at the top of the race sheets. The race begins at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So if you are just wondering, because it's sort of like a late afternoon schedule for the Brazilian Grand Prix this weekend. How do you like the circuit, Callum? Because it's hardly changed ever since it came onto the Formula 1 calendar.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite circuits. It's kind of a classic circuit, the ones I prefer. It's quite fast straights, a lot of overtaking opportunities, especially in the corners. Yeah, and the pit straight's quite nice visually. Like it goes up the hill and then down into the chicane, and obviously the pit's really long in this one as well, so that can play a big effect.
Well, 2 years ago, not only they resurfaced the circuit, but they also changed the sort of pit entry, because what drivers used to do is, because it's like a high
cut it, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to cut it in, but Massa got penalised 3 years ago in his last race for Ferrari for crossing the pit entry line. There's obviously a pit entry line, but there's one with like crosses on, which he put one wheel over, which he got penalised for, which is why the FIA decided to redesign the pit entry so that drivers don't go flying through the pit lane at top speed. So, Kathy, what do you think of the Brazilian track? Because it's not changed that much over the years.
I quite like it. I think it's nice that it hasn't changed, so it's sort of a traditional circuit. And again, it's quite it's good that it's got quite a lot of fast straights and sort of the corners. They are quite good for overtaking, so it is definitely one of the more interesting circuits.
So who's it going to favour then? Do you think Mercedes? It's going to have to be Mercedes again. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack, you're saying on the circuit?
Yeah, as I said before, it's a traditional circuit. Basically, it's one of the circuits that you would like to promote to new watchers. It's always a fun race in Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, I very much like Brazil. Very nostalgic actually, because when I play like on the PlayStation games, like PlayStation 1 games, the circuit's hardly different to what it is now. So, I mean, I always enjoy racing in Brazil, but it's sometimes tricky because there's like the slower corners which can sort of throw you off, because it's like an uphill gradient, downhill gradient, it's quite bumpy. And also, because Interlagos is one of 5 circuits on this year's calendar that goes in an anti-clockwise direction. As we've been sharing our predictions and results for this weekend, you can be involved in the show via Twitter, sending in tweets at Brayford Radio, or sending in your messages or posts to the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, as well as answering our final question of the evening. And the question is, how many times has Fernando Alonso finished on the podium in Brazil? How many times has Fernando Alonso finished on the podium in Brazil? Okay, the answer will be given after Somebody Told Me by the Killers. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Somebody Told Me by the Killers. The question we asked a few minutes ago was, how many times has Fernando Alonso finished on the podium in Brazil? Guys, quickly your guesses.
I've had a bit of a guess on 7.
Okay, Kathy?
I've said 6.
6, Callum?
I've said 5, I think.
Okay, at Ken's JS said 7, and my mum Facebooked in with 5. I can tell you the answer is 8. So nearly, but not quite. I'll tell you the 8 occasions that Alonso finished on the podium. 2003, even though he wasn't standing on the podium that day. 2005, where he won his first championship, and as well as the following year, 2006. 2007, missed out on the drivers that year. 2008, 2010, 2012, and 2013. So 8 times Fernando Alonso has finished on the podium in Brazil. So if you said that, very well done indeed. We want to move on now about power units, guys. How do you think the regulations have planned out the way it should be? Because it's becoming more and more complicated for fans like ourselves to understand this rule. Kathy, do you think there should be a simpler way to sort of introduce a rule where drivers can, about the amount of engines that they can have over the course of a weekend like they used to, rather than just what they have now?
Yeah, I think the rules regarding power units and engines could be a lot simpler. I think they overcomplicate it, and then when there are rule changes and then drivers use too many engines, they get ridiculous grid penalties. It does leave sort of fans watching it like, well, why has this happened? It just seems a bit pointless.
Colin, your view on the regulation?
Yeah, the penalties when they use they go over the power units is really weird because they have like 50 grid penalties, and it's like there's like 22
drivers, yeah.
Yeah, so why are you giving them 50? It would make more sense maybe if they give them a penalty in that race and then maybe a penalty in the race after. But yeah, it's a bit confusing for the power units, and it doesn't really it doesn't seem very common sense. I mean, they shouldn't be giving them. It should just have back of the grid, and that's it.
Yeah. Jack, what would you say on the regulation?
Yeah, I agree with Callum and Kathy. It's a bit of a weird one, really. You've seen just in the past teams just totally drop out of and put a new one in, or even after they've used their allotted amount. So it is a bit of a weird one with the penalties, but I guess they've deemed it fit enough to still be there. So
yeah, just quickly go through the spotting regulation for this. This is for this year's rules. It'll be slightly different next year. But this year's rule, it says that unless a driver's unless he drives for more than one team, each driver may use no more than 5 power units during a championship season. The only exception is where the power unit is provided by a manufacturer or supplier taking part in his first championship season, in which case up to 5 may be used by a driver. The power unit is deemed to consist of 6 separate elements: the internal combustion engine, the motor generator unit kinetic or MGUK, the motor generator unit heat or MGUH, the energy store ES, turbocharger TC, and control electronics CE. Each driver is permitted to use only 5 of each of the above 6 elements during a championship season, and any combination of them may be fitted to a car at any one time. Should a driver use more than 5 of any of the 6 power unit elements during the course of a season, a grid penalty will be imposed. The penalties imposed for using additional elements work thus: the first time a 6th of any of the elements is used, a 10-place grid penalty will be imposed. A 5-place grid penalty will then be imposed the first time a 6th of any of the remaining elements is used. Likewise, the first time a 7th of any of the elements is used, a 10-place grid penalty will be imposed, and so on. So yeah, it's not just the engine; it's elements as well, specific elements that can impose penalties for drivers. So it's not like single engine per weekend or single engine per 2 race weekend rule.
yeah, I'm guessing they would choose between the motor generator unit kinetic and the heat one. So maybe it's not as bad for the separate parts to get a junction on, but who knows? It's obviously they've deemed it to penalise them if they do break that rule. So which is fair enough, because you don't want to give different teams bigger advantages over some of the smaller teams that might have like less manufactured parts. So it is a okay rule, but it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah. Hey, Kathy, do you like this rule at all?
No, I don't, because I think when they do, because obviously cars, they're gonna, like, the parts are gonna wear out, they're gonna need to replace them. Then it gets sort of the end of the seasons, and then people say, oh, should we replace this part of the engine, or face sort of like ridiculous grid penalties? And I do just think it impacts the racing, and I don't think it should be like that.
Callum, you'll say on the regulation. I mean, are you a big fan of it?
Not really. I think they've got too many regulations nowadays. I mean, they should maybe cut down on it and focus on the actual driving instead of penalising every single driver who goes over these regulations. But I think they should look into other areas of the sport and not give these ridiculous grid penalties, which
Hamilton and Alonso got in Belgium.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's kind of the people are laughing at the FIA for giving 55 grid penalty, and there's only 22 cars on the grid. So yeah, I think they need to maybe cut down a bit more and be a bit more lenient, I think.
Yeah. And just finish off that spotting regulation. If a driver is replaced at any time during the season, his replacement will be deemed to be the original driver for the purposes of assessing power unit usage. Okay, so it's just like if Esteban Ocon replaced Rio Haryanto, he's left with the pieces basically. So it's not from square one, they just replace a driver for that particular purpose. That is the end of the show. We're out of time, unfortunately, guys. Thank you all for listening and sending your tweets and answers this evening. Do make sure you join in next week's show where me, Jack Cathy and Jack Fisher will be reviewing the race from Brazil. Therefore, from me, Callum, Jack and Cathy, enjoy the race this weekend and we'll talk to you again same time next week. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.